Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be the continuation of restoring this F30 BMW back to working order. This is part 2 where we're saving the engine. If you missed part 1, I'm going to link that in the description. Alright, so let's get back to putting the car back together. Now it's time to lock the balance shaft, so I'm going to remove the oil pickup. There's a 10 mil holding it on. So I'm going to insert a locking tool now to lock the balance shaft. If you're lucky, everything will be in perfect alignment. When you release the crank hub bolt, you may tweak it ever so slightly where you just got to use a pick or something to bring it back into line. But there's a tiny little indent to allow you to insert the tool, assuming it's in time. So if I bring this over here, it goes all the way. So you should be able to make out the locking tool inserted. There's a little peg, like I said, in the shaft for the balance shaft to allow you to go all the way flush. So we've locked that now. Now we have to lock the oil pump gear itself. We're locked on that. Now we'll get a T60 and release that. I'm locking the tensioner with an Allen key, just so it'll be easier to remove. Now we have 3 T30s to undo. There's one there, and one up there. So we'll pop this off. And I can verify that this shaft is locked via my tool, which is good. To get this all the way out, we're gonna have to pop out this crank hub, which does come out easily. I can get this out of the way. Now there's 3 8 mil Allen plugs to remove. There'll be a washer on it, so make sure that comes with it. So there's one up here that was a little smaller, 2 down there. That's a T40 screw. These will be reused. Now we'll release the Vanos units, 24 mil. I already verified these are in time with the timing tool. This will say IN on it for intake. Right there, I would keep these together. Basically bring it out of the channel, let the chain hang. I'm gonna keep this on the driver's side of the car so I don't mix it up. Now we have these 2 E8s. This is all falling apart, that's why it's not coming out as one unit. Normally it shouldn't be like this, but this part survived. This is the old sprocket and chain. FYI, that part goes inward, the part that sticks out. It actually fell at the bottom because it's not clipped together anymore. This guide survived, but the other part clips into this. Here's the other part. Big chunk's missing. That part's all busted off. You got the oil pan gasket replaced at the dealer and they already found a bunch of particles in there, and I just found a couple more. So they cleaned out what they found and they recommended you change the chain. But this is where all the debris came off of. I'm gonna work on getting the crank seal removed. There's a new crank seal installed. We're gonna go ahead and set up the new timing chain. There's a new gear with the laser etching to avoid any crank hub slip. Start reinserting these pegs. FYI, the updated oil pump chain drive has the laser etching as well on both sides, just for better grip. You want to install a new crank hub bolt here and a new oil pump bolt. Start by torquing these to 10 Newton meters. These are E8s. That should be torqued to 14 Newton meters. This should be torqued to 24 Newton meters. I'll bring over our Vanos locking tool. Now we'll tighten these to 55 Newton meters plus 55 degrees of rotation. Now we'll bring over this, back this all the way out, insert it in where the timing tensioner goes. Now we'll tighten this up until it's finger tight, just to get the slack off the chain so we can tighten the main crank bolt. That's good. Chain's under its appropriate tension. Now we can go ahead and tighten the crank hub bolt. We're going to tighten the oil pump chain assembly bolt to 10 Newton meters. I'm installing the locking tool. This is a fresh bolt, brand new. It's a T60. We're going to torque it to 95 Newton meters. Now we can release this pin to allow this chain to tension up, like so. Now the oil pump chain has tension. These are all torqued to 10 Newton meters. This is torqued to 95 Newton meters. That will free us up to remove the balance shaft lock, and then we can tighten the crank hub bolt and reinsert these plugs. I've confirmed that we're in good shape. That is still in the appropriate position. I'll reinstall our oil pickup. Make sure there's no debris in it first of all. Careful when installing this so that you don't damage the O-ring. All right, using a 22 mil socket, we're going to tighten the crank hub bolt to 100 Newton meters plus 270 degrees of rotation. So I'm going to mark the bolt in the socket, and then we're going to rotate this so 90 degrees plus 90 plus 90. This line will end up facing toward the passenger side of the car at a 90 degree angle when we're done, once we've reached 270. Okay, we're torqued. Put these plugs back in. This top plug gets torqued to 25 Newton meters. The lower plugs to 50. Bringing over the new tensioner with new crush washer. Tightening this to 80 Newton meters. The oil pan gasket was recently replaced by the dealer, but regardless, I'm replacing it with a new one. So I'm going to head back underneath the car and install the oil pan. There's 22 of these bolts. 2 of them, about halfway up, have a thread locker / sealant type of material on there because they go through the crankcase, and you could develop a leak if you don't. So when I get to that part of installation, I'll just put a little infographic explaining that, because I'll look it up as I'm going. I'm putting the 2 screws near the bell housing that have the thread sealant on them. From the driver's side, count 1 in, and from the passenger side, count 3 in. They're right beside each other in between a little notch. That's where the sealed threads need to go. All these bolts will be torqued down to 12 Newton meters. I'm going back to the motor mount arm and tightening the 4 bolts. I just reinstalled the flywheel locking tool using the same method with the long set of needle-nose pliers up and over. Easier that way. I'm going to tighten up the crank pulley now. Torquing these to 35 Newton meters. So I'm sure this goes without saying, but you can mark this, and before you put everything back together, rotate it 2 times over and verify that everything's still in time. But this design is pretty good where literally as long as you have everything in the right position, it just clamps down on the final position. There's no way it's going to tweak or move. In preparation, I just placed the motor mount in the subframe so we can jack it up and reconnect everything. Reinstalling the cam sensors, make sure you pay attention to the O-ring, make sure it's not getting crushed up. Doing the valve cover gasket now. So we're going to torque these down to 9 Newton meters, starting up here and straight back here, and up here, number 3, number 4 up here, 5 back here, number 6 up here, 7 top right, number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'll just double check that I got them all. I'm ready to attempt a first start now. That's what you want to see. There's no smoke or anything out the exhaust either. Let's let it run for a bit and see what happens. So since it's running good, I'm going to connect the laptop, show you what codes were present, and delete them. So here are the codes present right now related to all this, engine oil pressure and all that kind of stuff. Just so you can pause the screen and check that out if you'd like. And delete it all, and we'll give it another start, see if any new faults come back. Here's another start after the fault's been cleared. Sounds good. I'll let it idle for a while and then we'll come back and see if we can go for a test drive. Okay, so there was only one fault. It was the primary O2 sensor. I put a brand new Bosch in there. It probably failed because the turbo was gone and it was dumping oil all over it. And what we're hoping for now is that the catalytic converter will clean up and be fine. But this is a cold restart after the first running, after maybe 20 minutes or so, and there wasn't even a drop of smoke coming out of the exhaust. It's completely clean. Runs great now. So this motor runs really smooth considering what it's been through. Sounds great. So we're going to take it for a test drive now. I'm going to button up the cowl and everything since we don't have any other faults or any other codes. No reoccurring codes. So let's go take it for a drive and see if it feels quick, because it probably hasn't felt that way in a while. Sounds really good. It sounds like a motor that does have under 100,000 miles. Very smooth. Nice even compression. Alright, it's driving perfectly. I had to put about 50 miles on it to clear up the oil that was built up in the exhaust from the original turbo failing. But beyond that, now it's perfectly crystal clear and driving great. I figured I'd wait for the daytime to give you guys a final update. The car drives perfect. It's got all its pickup back. I checked for codes. There's no codes. All the permanent codes cleared away. It just says no codes when you scan it via a generic OBD2 scanner. So the car is ready to go back to the owner. I'm glad I could save this one for him, and I think it worked out for both of us because I can get you guys some content and help keep another car on the road versus seeing it go to an auction or who knows what would happen to it. So I think that'll conclude this video. If this is the first video you're catching on mine, please consider subscribing. I do upload regularly. If you liked it, please give it a like so it'll rank higher. Thanks for watching.